Hello, and welcome back to the How to Feel Horror podcast, where we review horror movies and horror movie franchises. This is Jigsaw. I know you're probably wondering where Mark, Maria, and Talon are, but today it's your game to listen to this episode.
Welcome back to the How to Feel Horror podcast and review horror movies and horror franchises. I'm Mark,
I'm Tawan.
I'm Maria.
and today we're reviewing Saw X, or in some countries known as Saw X: The Game of Fear, released in 2023, directed by Kevin Gruder and written by Josh Stolberg and Peter Goldfinger. Maria, can you give the people the plot summary?
Hoping for a miraculous cure, John Kramer travels to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure, only to discover the entire operation is a scam to defraud the most vulnerable. Armed with a newfound purpose, the infamous serial killer uses deranged and ingenious traps to turn the tables on the con artists.
So Saw X, aka Saw 10, is a return to form after, we had Jigsaw, after we had Spiral, and I kind of had mixed feelings when it was announced. I don't know. I had mixed feelings, but overall, I enjoyed it. They tried to recapture the era with like the color scale and the technology was on point for that time. It looked good. I had a few hiccups, but I will come to those hiccups when I get to particular characters and particular scenes. But what about you, Maria? What were your overall thoughts on Saw?
I mean, same. I also, when I first saw it, didn't think it was gonna be good, to be honest. Um, but watching it, I mean, it definitely exceeded my expectations. I definitely, it does feel like a Saw movie. Um, I also liked the game. I liked the twists. Yeah, there were some parts I didn't like, but I think that's just me being harsh. But overall, though, it was a good movie.
Tuan, what about you? What are your overall thoughts?
My overall thoughts were I liked the movie. I was also like hesitant when it was first announced because I didn't know where they were gonna go with the story. But once we started finding out a little more about it, that it was gonna be like a prequel slot in between the first two movies, and Tobin Bell was returning as like our lead and was actually gonna be like our leading person throughout the whole thing. It got me like way more excited. And after watching it, like I liked it a lot. It definitely, like Maria, like exceeded my expectations. Like it felt like a Saw movie, unlike Jigsaw and Spiral. It had like that feel to it. Like as Mark mentioned, like the color grading and stuff felt like Saw, and I think overall for me it was just nice to have like Kramer as the actual like protagonist, or the leading person in it, because while he is our like the person that we associate with Saw, he never really like led any other movies the way he did in this one. So it was pretty cool to see like the story like focusing on him instead of the person who's going through a game. So I think that whole part of it was really good. And it fit well enough in between the movies where you could watch it on its own, and it feels like its own thing, but it's slot perfectly where anyone who's a fan of the series doesn't it doesn't like take away from what came before and then what comes right after with like Saw 2.
Yeah, that was my feeling. It's a good like jumping off point. Like if you watch this movie first before watching one, like you won't be confused. It sets up who John Kramer is. Like I think this is the most we've seen John Kramer that wasn't really like within flashbacks. So this was like a nice change. But let's hop over to the traps. Were there any traps that stood out to you guys? Good, bad, or indifferent?
Do you guys hear that? There's like something going on outside. Anyway, um, the traps. I mean, I guess they were good. Um, they weren't. I mean, I don't think they were like amazing, to be honest. But I think they kind of did their job. Um, I I don't know. Um, like not Gabriella. The other girl, Valentina. Like hers was crazy and nuts, you know, because not only did she have to cut off her own leg, but she also had to stick this long tube thing inside her her bone, and she fucking did it. She was so fucking close, but she failed. And then honestly, the one I the okay, like the main trap, the one that's um whatever the fuck the lady doctor, whatever her trap was, like her
Cecilia.
actual trap, yeah, Cecilia. That I feel like that was kind of lame, and she survived it. So I don't know. I was kind of expecting more, to be honest. Like I think the best trap that I really liked was for the male doctor. I don't remember his name either.
Mateo.
But yeah, yeah, like his trap was really good. I thought his was pretty great. I liked the end of it where he like closes in like the whole statue thing on his face and it kind of like burns it off, you know what I mean? I thought that was good. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like for the main trap, I was expecting more.
Yeah, I think for me with this one, yeah, Valentina's was also one that I liked because it was the most brutal one. Like I do feel like while I didn't mind any of the traps, they definitely could have been a little more gory. I felt, in my opinion, but Valentina's was a good one. Um, she was so close. Like she was really fucking close. She almost had it, but um, wasn't able to get to the finish line on that one. Another one that I did like was I believe it was Diego who was like the taxi driver. I liked his because he just went for it and he actually survived it. And then it came back up at the end like how John knew everything, so he was the one who told him. So that was a good one as well. And even though it was a dream sequence, I didn't mind the eyeball one either. Um, because it was fairly it really drives home like how simple some of these can be. Because he basically used like um one of those like vacuum machines that like a janitor would use, and he put the janitor in like that trap for his like dream sequence or whatever. So I didn't mind that one, and it was like pretty cool to see. I was a little bummed when I saw that when it cut right after, and we just saw that that's what John was envisioning doing to him if he was to put him in a trap. Which just goes to show that man is crazy because yes, I understand this guy is just stealing, but it makes you think like how ahead of time he thinks of putting people in these traps before he even does it. Um, yeah, I think that was probably it for me. And I think while we're on the traps, what this movie also does for me is think of how unrealistic the game in Jigsaw was, especially since we just recently covered that. And how, because compared to the traps that were in this one, the traps in Jigsaw were like they were way it was way more going on there. I understand he wasn't like on his turf, and in Jigsaw, the game that took place there was at like John's farmhouse and stuff, so he could have set it up however he wanted, as opposed to this facility in a foreign country where he doesn't have everything. But I mean, he made it work with what he had, but it just makes me think about how unrealistic the game in Jigsaw was in comparison. especially since that one was apparently his first game that no one heard of.
Yeah, and for me, I would have to say I also liked the eyeball trap. That was insane, and I was also disappointed when it was trying to be a dream sequence. You know, though the opening, the first trap is always like the one that fully locks you in, and I was in, and I'm very squeamish when it comes to like eye horror, so that
Oh
like freaked
yeah,
me out. And also like Diego's trap because yeah, he went for that shit, and I was just like, I don't know if I could have done that, but
yeah.
it was insane, and I love that. And I also agree with you, Maria. The main trap, Cecilia's trap, was lackluster. Like it was, I didn't like that at all. Like it just, I don't know.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like the trap started out so strong, you know, like with the janitor, and you're
Yeah,
like, oh, and I mean, because I thought with the janitor that with the whole doctor thing, he was gonna do some doctory traps, and it started off so strong with Valentina and Mateo, and then it with Gabriella, it just went back down, you know, like she was just kind of swinging, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure it hurts to like break your own foot and your own hand, but it was doable. And then with Cecilia, hers was just kind of like seesawing back and forth. Well, I mean, that was her original one, but then like her actual one was just, you know, get into this hole for 10 minutes so you could breathe, and that was it.
Yeah, it could have been more, but let's move on to the scenes. Tuan, were there any scenes that stood out for you, good, bad, or indifferent, or just any, like any weird plot points that got like stuck for you?
honestly, that the scene when John got that bottle of like tequila so that he could bring it to Gabriella, and he went back to the mansion and saw that like no one was there. And at first, like you could see he was like actually like concerned at first because like he thought maybe something had happened. And then once he went into the actual like facility and saw like watched like the little DVD that they had on like doing surgery for dummies and stuff, and he was just putting two and two together on all of that. Like he just looked so defeated there, which is not something we really see for John. Like even in like all the other movies, he's just so always the in charge, like he's always in the driver's seat with everything, it seems. So like having that moment of him like breaking down and going back to his old ways was I thought that was pretty good. And it, like I guess in tandem with that was when he was at the park in a little bit before like that sequence. He was in the park and he was like designing the reverse bear trap, and then he ripped out the page and threw it away. And it's like if he if he got cured, actually, he probably wouldn't have done anything in the other movies, and that just pushed him even more like towards his ways because he thought like he had a new lease on life, but it turns out it was all fake and he didn't. So now he's got to go back to his Kramer ways and teach people a lesson.
Yeah, I agree with you. That scene where he walked back in and like you're right. You could see he was like slightly worried and he was like rushing around. And then that realization, it was like, damn, I've been played. That kind of broke me a bit, and I was kind of like, oh, John. But what about you, Maria? Were there any scenes or plot points or anything that just stood out for you, good, bad, or indifferent?
I mean, okay, I agree that that scene made me feel bad a little bit for John, but then I was like, but John's like a straight up murderer though. Like, like it doesn't matter if he doesn't actually kill them according to him, but it's like he was already out here. You know, he had a couple bodies under his belt. Like, and I mean, I don't hate John as a character, and I appreciate the series, but I was like, not me feeling bad for John Kramer, who murdered people and who let his apprentices run around doing all this shit they weren't supposed to be doing. Like, I don't know, but I mean, I agree. That scene was heartbreaking. It was kind of like, oh, but but I guess Um, Another scene. Oh my God, it was the scene with the kid. That scene was so sad.
Oh yeah,
I felt so bad. I was like, oh. And the
yeah. I
fact, oh
wasn't
my,
expecting him to go there.
me neither. I wonder, like, I mean, okay, to me it was really sad because it's like, for one, John was like, don't pull it because, he was gonna get blood boarded. But like, even then, like the kid saw what was going on and he pulled the lever. I was like, oh, like he knew. Ah, that part was I don't know, that poor kid. But um, what else? Um, I do I have another one scene? There's the scene. Where you kind of start realizing the twists and stuff. When you start to realize that his name wasn't Henry. The guy, the
Oh,
fucking.
Parker.
Well, anyway, yeah. So Parker, when I realized that, I was like, no way. And then when you start to realize that fucking Cecilia over here was actually, because at first I thought she was very supportive because she was talking her apprentices, I guess, how to do these traps and like, you know, encouraging them, but the whole time she was just wishing like they would have died. Like Cecilia was awful. Like she was for real just watching that kid get bloodboarded and did not give a fuck. Like she was gonna watch that whole thing happen. Um so yeah, I mean I really like the twists in this movie.
I have to say, I did forget a scene. I loved how, with this being a prequel, they can just do little small callbacks and not really have like a big deal with it. Because when he picked up the phone and was like, "Hi, detective, I need your help to like find some people," I automatically went, "Oh shit, he's calling Hoffman."
Hmm.
And I like little things like that. They didn't have to make like a big deal about it. They didn't even have to drop his name. It was just like, "Okay, I'm detective, I need your help." And in my head, I was like, okay, so if you could call to this, I remember texting Tuan, and this is why I texted you, Tuan, because he picked up the phone and he called Detective Hoffman to find the people who did him wrong, but he couldn't pick up the phone and call Dr. Gordon or call Logan from Jigsaw and be like, hey, can you run this medical shit and make sure it's legit? Like he couldn't do that. You called the cop for help, but you couldn't call your doctors for help.
But that
Your
was
doctor
after the point,
apprentices.
though.
Yeah, but he still could get. But during the whole, before he flew his ass out to Mexico, before he did all of that, he should have had one of the two of them or both of them check the medical shit. What's the point of having doctors on deck if you're not going to trying to run that shit beforehand? So that was like, that's the scene that kind of just like was like, so what about the other two? Like, what the fuck? Do we only remember Hoffman and Amanda? Like, damn. But but then I did like the post credit scene when I actually like had Hoffman and John with Henry, because I figured Henry had something to do with that. I was just waiting for them to circle back around. But
Yeah,
go
and
ahead.
I honestly, I wasn't honestly, I forgot about him at that by that point, and once it got to the end, I was like, oh shit, yeah, he did have a part in it, and also
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
one more like I guess sequence in general was just Amanda kidnapping everybody, like
Oh, I love that.
that was a good sequence, especially the part where she was on Cecilia's roof. Like that was I like that part. That shot of like Cecilia looking at the cameras and then look like noticing that someone's like above her. Like that whole like sequence of her like kidnapping everybody was good.
Nice, but Maria, let's talk about the game itself. What do we think about the game and all the game players? Maria, kick us off.
I mean, fuck them. Like, because they were. I mean, each of them. I like how each of them kind of had their own different issues. They all kind of had their own addictions, I guess. Um, and I mean, I know that Amanda felt bad for Gabriella, but I kind of didn't, like I mean, I understand that addiction is definitely like a disease, and it's like it's not great. It's awful. Uh, but I'm pretty sure there are like people out there that are currently addicts, and they wouldn't do this. You know what I mean? But that's just me. Um, but I mean, they all kind of just really suck, and the fact that I mean, Mateo, the first thing he said was like, "She made us do it. We didn't even know. We had nothing to do with it." Like, come on, bro. I'm pretty sure at that point he doesn't care. He's gonna kill y'all regardless. But yeah, I mean, I like I felt bad at first, but then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, they knew what they were doing. Like they knew that these procedures were fake. They knew how to fake it, and they were just kind of like pulling at people's heartstrings for money, you know? And that's why I guess that's why I don't really feel bad for Gabriella, because it's like it's something that you did for like a couple of days for like, you know, for who knows how many people. And same thing with Valentina and Mateo, like, and not to mention Mateo was the one who was applying Gabriella, like, and that man, he just worked at a vet hospital, but like I don't know if he was an actual like veterinarian, or he was just like the janitor or something. He just did not seem like a good person, you know? Valentina was just actually surviving. Well, I guess both Gabriella and Valentina were. But like, I don't know. I just feel the most gruesome um the most gruesome trap went to Valentina, and I just don't really understand why. I feel like her participation was minimal compared to like everybody else's. She was
Mm.
just supposed to be like the nurse or whatever. Like Mateo. Well, Mateo wasn't. Well, I guess Mateo too, right? He wasn't the one that did the surgery, but um, you know, he was still there telling them that like, oh yeah, I worked here. I went to Hopkins. I did all these things. Don't even worry about it. And then Gabriella over here being like, yeah, they saved my life too. Making the man feel so at home that he thought I'm gonna get a bottle of tequila for my new friend. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think they were just as awful as Cecilia, because they knew what they were doing. Um, I'm pretty sure Cecilia wasn't exactly quiet about it, and I'm pretty sure they knew that, because these were actual like dying people, and like I don't, and like they couldn't even fake it enough to like not even cut his hair, cut his scalp a little bit, like.
That's what's so crazy to me. Like when he took that thing off and it's like nothing was there. Like that was so crazy because it was almost comical in a way. Like I'm not even lying because it was just like damn. Like they didn't even like do anything. Like they didn't try to fake it or nothing. Like they really just like put the bandage on and said, "Don't take it off because the pain, like basically the painkillers were going to keep them, um, not messing with it." I was like, "Oh shit!" Like they ain't shit for real.
Yeah, because like they couldn't even like put some stitches on him just for him. Like, I mean, because obviously he's gonna take it off and feel it and be like, wait a minute. I guess by then like they'll be long gone, which was the whole game of it. But like,
Yeah,
damn, like they couldn't even give these people false hope. Well, yeah.
I would say though for me, I do agree with a lot of what you have to say. Like were they were all scummy like in their own ways with this. Like yes, um like Gabriella, for instance, like she was like an addict and stuff like that, and she was trying to, do what she had to do to get like her next fix. Um, Valentina, she didn't really like, have much going on. Like she almost did get assaulted though before fucking Amanda snatched her up, and um, like Mateo, he just is only there, looks like, to provide Gabriella what she needs, and but all of them like together, they they just created this situation where regardless of like personal things like going on with them, like it's just such a shitty thing to do, to give someone who's basically on their deathbed like false hope, and then them paying you because they think that you're giving them like some experimental procedure, which, giving aid to like what Mark said, like um even outside of John, like you never know, like with situations like this, and doing as much research as you can is like important, but especially because considering, I guess, the time where this took place, that may not have been like that much research, but either way, they think that they're gonna get cured, like regardless of if it actually is gonna work or not. They think they're gonna get cured, and to do all of that, not actually even work on that person, playing like fake DVDs and videos of surgeries to make it seem like that you're actually working on someone. Like, that's insane. And it was even crazier when you found out that Diego was like the fake doctor who was doing the surgery. Because once, when John took him, and he was in that trap where he had to cut the pipe bombs out. I was like, he was just a driver. I mean, I don't think he knew that much. And then when we got to the little flashback, he was actually, he had like a fake beard on. It was the doctor. I was like, oh shit, like, damn, everybody's really in on it. And you get to like, um, the other guy, like Parker and stuff too. So, like, they're all like, you can't, there's, in my head, like, you can't come back from nothing like that. Cause if it, like, even if it wasn't Kramer, it was somebody else who fell for it, which we saw in the movie. Like, they had like millions of dollars at this point, from doing this. Was Cecilia. Like, she had like millions of dollars at this point for pulling this in like different parts of the world. And when we even get to her at her house, she was like talking to someone planning on doing the same thing. So it's like, I mean, at this point, you do gotta learn a lesson.
Well, let's talk about the person who kicked off this whole situation. Let's talk about Henry. Tuan, what are your thoughts on Henry?
I really didn't think that Henry was gonna come back up until we got like that little stinger at the end of the movie, um, because I had forgot about him. And what the only reason I forgot about him and why I wasn't convinced at first that he was in on it was because when we saw him, he had like the scar on his chest from like where he supposedly had the surgery. But then we saw Parker also had a scar, and then we find out that he was faking as well. So after that point, I was like, "Oh shit, was that man faking too? Like, was he in on it?" And it almost made me think, like, does he go to like these like groups or something to make people, to like try to tell people and peddle this, and like he gets like money from it? Because it was a random occurrence that John just so happened to ran into him at that time. Like, he didn't like reach out to him or anything. It was John just happened to remember him when he was at that cafe. So that was just like luck, honestly, that they even saw each other. But it does make me think, because he was in like a cancer support group, um, that he would try to peddle this off to other people there and say like, "Oh, I got like this experimental treatment. They say I'm doing so much better now, X, Y, and Z." So, I mean, he's just as bad as the rest of them.
Maria, what are your thoughts on Parker?
I mean, he played me too. Like, I really thought he was like, okay, okay. In the beginning, I really thought he was a patient, but then, like, as the movie was going on, and because when she was on the phone with someone, I kind of recognized his voice. And I was like, is that who I think it is? And then I see him and I was like, oh shit. They're like, I'm pretty sure he's in on it. And he was. He was just acting like way too weird for me. You know what I mean? And to be honest, I feel like John was a little bit out of character this movie. Because it's like if they supposedly blindfolded you going up there, like how is Parker gonna know where it is, for him to go up there and try to shoot it, try to shoot Cecilia or something because she's
Actually,
pissed.
you're right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and I'm surprised John didn't think about it either because the only reason John figured it out is because he like recognized the place, and I'm just like it was nighttime when Parker got there, so it's like how are you gonna see the antennas? You know? I guess John already knew, so that there's that. So that's probably why he let him in. But that's how I kind of, because that's what I started to think. I was like, how would he know where it is? So um, but no, fuck that guy. Because even like, obviously he's just as bad as everybody else. Everybody who's involved in this is awful. But then like when Cecilia, wanted the fucking kid in a trap, like you saw what the trap did to those people. He was not gonna survive that if it was an actual like, saw trap. And like and you can see his face that he was like not on board with it, but he never said anything. You can
Yeah,
see that he was like for real like against it. Like he was like literally his face just kept screaming, "What the fuck, Cecilia?" But he never did anything about it. He just continued on. He put the kid in the fucking trap. He turned on the trap, and and did nothing. And then after he was so disgusted by whatever was going on, and Cecilia's fucking looking at it like a sadistic bitch, because she's like, yeah, pain. He's like so disgusted by the whole situation. Instead of doing, because first of all, he's the one holding the gun, right? So instead of doing anything, he's just like, I'm gonna go look for the money. Like, all right, go ahead then. The fuck, like, I guess. So he's just as bad, if not worse, because he's so. I don't know why he didn't just help, because he clearly was very like put off by everything. But it's like, maybe because he's a coward, or I don't know what else it could be. But yeah, he's awful.
yeah. I definitely did at first think um, that he wasn't a part of it, and as it was slowly like coming together, because like at first when he was there and like he saw them in the traps and stuff, even if he wasn't a part of it, if any like if any like regular person came there like on some revenge type shit but saw people with fucking like death traps, and you see like someone's leg is cut off, their head is on the ground, like you're gonna be freaking the fuck out. Like it doesn't even matter. So I'm sure that even if he wasn't, like his reactions to things would have been the way they were. But in context of him actually being a part of this, and him and Cecilia having like some things together, his reactions make even more sense, and then why he eventually, you know, did what he had to do. But he was definitely just going along with it because he had a thing for Cecilia. Because like Maria mentioned, like he he didn't seem like he was actually down for what she was trying to do, because like she kind of went on some um some like a demon time. She was just ready, she was ready to like do whatever the fuck she had to do to get out of there, and he was too, to an extent, but not like the way she was, especially grabbing Carlos and putting him in the trap. And like Maria mentioned, you could see he wasn't for it, but he wasn't against it either because he didn't say anything about it, and he was just going to do what he had to do to get out of there at that point. And he just wasn't he wasn't crazy enough as Cecilia was to actually survive once they got in their actual trap, which, as we mentioned, was very mediocre.
Well, since you brought him up, let's talk about Carlos. Twan, what are your thoughts on Carlos?
That little kid is tougher than me. Cause if John told me not to push the lever after I'm seeing what's happening to him, I don't think I would have pushed it, to be honest, and had that and basically get waterboarded or bloodboarded because that was crazy. And I I think the overall, I just wasn't expecting him to like bring a kid into it at all. Like that was just something I wasn't expecting. I didn't even like
They've
once
done it
he.
before.
Oh, you talking about like what's that? I know you're talking about the daughter. Um, whose daughter was that? I forget
It
exactly.
was the one where the whole entire time we thought it was the main player's family, but it really wasn't. But that was a teenager though, so that doesn't
Yeah,
count.
he was like
Never
a
mind. You're
teenager.
right. You're
Yeah,
right. You're right.
but like actually bringing him like in the game because honestly, I'd forgotten about Carlos at this point in time, until he was kicking the ball and I was like, oh shit, like are they actually have to pull him in the game? And I just wasn't expecting it to like happen the way that it did. Um, but he did what he had to do there, and he listened for a bit, but once he saw what was going on and he understood the situation, like he pulled the lever and you know he got bloodboarded. But I mean, he's richer now. John gave him all the money. His family's rich, so I guess that's a plus. But he's gonna be traumatized for the rest of his life, probably.
They can afford a good therapist.
Yeah, they could definitely afford some therapy at that point.
What about you, Maria? What are your thoughts on Carlos?
I liked Carlos. Yeah, I think it is the first time they brought such a like a kid into this, and and honestly, the fact that even Carlos was willing to get bloodboarded, after seeing what was going on with John, and I was just like, oh my God, he's so nice. And like, I honestly, I thought at first that that was part of John's plan, because it's like, first of all, it's so late. Like, why is Carlos there? I thought that was a little odd. Um, but that's just me. And then it got me wondering, like, I wonder if the dad knew they were con artists. Like, I wonder if they knew, you know?
Oh, like Carlos's dad.
Yeah. Because I know that he was a groundskeeper, but like, I don't know. It was just good, nice to wonder, I guess. But yeah, Carlos, yeah, Tuan's right. He's definitely braver than me because I'm yeah, because if John was like, "Don't push," and we're in a scary fucking contraption, you best believe or don't pull. Like, you best believe I'm not gonna fucking pull. I don't know what the fuck that shit's gonna do. Like, when he pulled it, I was like, "Oh no, what's gonna happen?" And I saw the bench move, and I was like, "What's gonna happen? My God!" Just for it to be a seesaw, which okay, after that, maybe I would have been like, "All right, I wouldn't mind us taking turns waterboarding," you know. But I don't know. I felt really bad for him though, because yeah, he's definitely gonna be traumatized. Like, not only about being bloodboarded, but also by watching the fucking carnage of everything else. You know, pretty sure it's traumatizing enough to see a body without its head and like their leg and stuff. Oh, and her fucking intestines were everywhere too. But yeah, I think Carlos is probably the only good thing. Um, he was definitely a very pure and sweet soul.
The only good person in this movie.
TBH.
But Maria, what are your thoughts on Cecile?
Cecilia?
That too.
um, I mean, fuck that bitch. Like, what the like? That girl is fucking psychotic. So, like, she's a sociopath. She's all the fucking terms. Like, that lady's fucking crazy. Um, for her to be, first of all, for her to, okay, well, I guess real. First of all, her operation is huge. You know, like, for her to be able um, to like not only have assistance but also to have people go out and get victims, I thought that was like pretty fucking crazy. Which is why I don't know, or which why I thought her like um her trap was so like lackluster, and she survived. And honestly, with the post credit, I thought that it was gonna be her like actually dying. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like she just definitely deserved something worse, considering like not only was she taking advantage of vulnerable people, people in the area, Gabriella, who had an addiction, or Valentina, who was just surviving in that, you know just doing what she can to get money, right? And um like I mean, I don't know if I don't personally think she was gonna murder them for the money and not give them a cut. I think she, was definitely a lady of her word, I guess. But then, but the fact that she killed Gabriella, and she didn't even like. First of all, she had a fucking weapon in her hand, and Cecilia was like, "Actually, I'm gonna break her fucking neck with my goddamn heel." You know what I mean? Like, I heard this girl groaning under her, and she was like, "Whatever," and just fucking. I don't know. That was just very personal. And then when she just did a lot of things, like also, Carlos, when she was like, let's put the kid in the trap to make John suffer. And I thought that was like, because I mean, obviously, it seems like Cecilia didn't really care for the other people, and technically, she hasn't been in the trap yet. Like, she wasn't hurt in any way. So, like, for her to be like, no, like, we have to make John pay. Like, pay for what exactly? Like, you didn't lose or gain anything, Like, you're out of the trap. Honestly, like, she should have just left, taken the money and left. But she was like, no, like, I want to see some more blood. I want to see this guy suffer. I mean, I'm assuming she's probably just pissed that he bested her. Um, but yeah, to bring a kid in it, and then the fact that she still stood there and watched it happen. I thought, and like that was really like fucking psycho. 'Cause like her switch, going from such a caring doctor, begging John and trying to help Gabriella and Mateo and um whatever her name was, Valentina, like she looked genuinely concerned. Like even I was like, wow, like maybe she's just a good person caught in a con. But like no, and like as soon as fucking Parker shows up, yeah, her face just starts like you can see it. You can see her fucking like mask just drop, and she's like, "Yeah, fuck these guys. I wanted all you guys dead. I wanted the fucking money, and now I want John to suffer because he bested me. He caught me, and now I want to see more blood." Cause like, and to be honest, I should have known something was off with her when she cut into Valentina so easily. Like she wasn't even like gagging. She wasn't even like, oh my God, like this is my very first. Like that lady has definitely had her hand inside some guts at some point in
No,
her
for
life.
real.
Like
She got no hesitation.
she really didn't. She was like, I need a, because like I think who I don't remember who was asking for a rope, and she was like, here, we got a rope, and she holds the fucking intestines. I was like, what the fuck? I don't know. I should have known. I would have. I don't know. That would have been my first red flag if I wasn't, paying attention to other stuff. But no, yeah, that lady is fucking crazy, and she did not feel remorse at all, which is why I'm wondering why they let her live. Because to be honest, like she seems just straight up like a menace to society. Like I feel like she's gonna live and she's gonna leave and she's gonna be like, well, I'll do it again. You know what I mean? Or she's gonna like make her, or she's gonna track down John because she's like, man, I lost some money. I lost my, well, not really partner in crime, right? But it's like, I lost my ride, lost a couple of things, and now I need to make John suffer. And so I wonder what they're gonna do with that because I don't know. I think she's too like dangerous to be let out back into society. That's just me.
For me with Cecilia, she is very irredeemable because one, like, yes, like she's in charge of all of this, but and like Maria mentioned, the switch up with her is so crazy because I was even starting to believe her, like when she was like talking to John, like giving all like information on everything. Like like if you were in the situation, like you would believe that this is the person that's trying to help you. Like they're trying to give you everything that you need. Like props to the actor because like I don't think I've ever seen this actress anything prior, at least to my knowledge. But she was really good at like giving that like caring, like like we want to help you, we want you to you know be like the best person, you're getting your life back, X, Y, and Z. It's from like from all of that to the switch up of no, John, you're gonna suffer. Like you put us in these contraptions, we're gonna put you in this now, and give us the kid too. We're gonna put him in it. And it's like, yo, the switch up was crazy there, and how she was just ready to do what she had to do so that she could get out and then get her money from all of this. So ir- irredeemable person, honestly. I mean, like she like this is I think but when watching this afterwards I said this is the first time where I felt most of the people who are a part of the game deserve to be in the game for legitimate like reasons of being a terrible human being. Like in other Saw movies, you have like characters they've done like slightly bad things, but they didn't deserve to be in no damn saw trap for it. But I don't know, like stealing money from who knows how many people who are literally on their deathbeds and saying that you're curing them. I mean, yeah, you deserve it from me. And I think, um, besides Cecilia, we also had Amanda back in this one, who was a good addition. Um, Everybody loves Amanda. We all know that our fave is a little crazy, but she was played like really well here, and it like fleshed her out a lot more than what we were given in the other movies with Amanda. Um, it really showed like the relationship that her and John had with each other, and like how close they actually were. Because we saw it a bit in Saw 3, but she was um having issues of like jealousy with Lynn, and then we find out later on that note from like Hoffman that he gave her and all of that. But from what we got like just in this movie in particular between like her and John, it was really good development for like the two of them and how they, play off each other. And I think it just shows like their level of connection that they had and how she act like she really saw him as kind of like this figure that was meant to help people, and she was going to do anything at this point because he helped her. And I think what I also liked with her was her little like kinship that she had for Gabriella, because she was also like an addict, and she went through she went through the same thing herself, and she was trying to delay or like tell her the best way to kind of go through what she had to do there. And she was like, the satisfaction on her face when Gabriella like passed her trap, like she was really happy for her in that moment. And then eventually Cecilia killed her, and Amanda was like very distraught at that because she was like she passed her test, like she got through it. So I thought she was really good here, and it was just nice to see her
You
back
know
there.
what? Not to cut you off, but I think what you said about this fleshing her out more, I think this might be okay. No, never mind. This is set in between one and two. So I was gonna say this might be the reason why she made all of her traps unwinnable. But I forgot she made that first trap unwinnable in Saw One. So never mind. Damn, Amanda.
Yeah, but that was it for me though about Amanda. If you have more,
I do because I this movie tried to make us feel sympathy for both John and Amanda. And on a level, it fucking worked. Like, I felt sorry for John. Like, I felt bad for him. And then, but seeing Amanda have, like, this kinship with Gabriella and, like, her being so proud and wanting to help her. Even John was like, you can't, you gotta separate the emotions. But, like, she's literally like, you saved me. I hope this can save her. And to be honest, if Gabriella would have survived, I pretty sure man on the man like, can she be my apprentice? Like, can we keep on
yeah.
helping her? So that was kind of just like heartbreaking for me. But what about you, Maria? What are your thoughts on Amanda?
I agree. Like, I feel like we did get a lot from Amanda this movie. I feel like it was nice to see her relationship with John without making her seem so like crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember what Saw movie this was, but it's basically the one where she dies with Dr. Lin, and how like they made her seem just so obsessive, so like emotional, so crazy. And I feel like I feel like they kind of did her justice. Like there's a reason John kept her around so long. Um, it wasn't just because she idolized him. It's because they did have like a genuine relationship, and they did have like a genuine friendship, and or like like a mentor type of deal. And um and I mean, yeah, I mean, I know that like she felt some type of like way towards Gabriella, especially both of them being addicts. But like I liked that here though, even though like you do see um that Amanda was feeling kind of like iffy about having Gabriella in the game, um, you know, she was still kind of following John's orders. She was still kind of like, okay, like you're right, like we'll play it out. We'll see what she does. Not like, over here trying to shoot, not over here trying to force her way to change the game to benefit her. You know what I mean? Just kind of like how they made her out to be in the past movies. Here, I feel like she really did, try um to understand John, and she did trust him, especially like towards the end, um with the whole like Parker thing and the whole Cecilia thing. And he tells her like, he even tells her, he was like, not exactly the way we planned, but it worked out. Like, these we got them in a trap. Him and Carlos were safe. And I feel like this definitely shows just, yeah, definitely the different side of Amanda, and not what we were so used to seeing. Um, and I liked it. I did like Amanda here. I liked her better than, in the other movies where she was kind of like all over the place and obsessed.
Well, let's talk about John. Now, I think this is the first time that we've actually really got to spend a lot of time with John, because even when he was there for part two, it was him and the cops and him sick and trying to play the game still. And part three, he was in the bed dying, just talking with Amanda and the wife. And you really didn't get a lot of time with John. And I feel like in the subsequent movies, all we got was little flashback snippets. of conversation. So this is the first time we actually really got to spend time with John. And like again, this movie was kind of making me feel for him a bit. And also kind of make me understand, like, he got a point. Some of these fucking people deserve his traps. Like, I don't even care anymore. Like, everyone involved deserved to be there. And seeing his compassion and like how he was with Carlos, it's like he truly, like, if you are innocent, you won't be like put in this fucking game. Like, yes, we seen in the past that like for the smallest shit he will have you literally strung the fuck up. But like, I don't know. This movie was we get to see a whole new side of John. I don't know. This is just me. What about you, Tuan? What are your thoughts on John?
Yeah, I was like g- a big fan of John in this one, like for reasons like you stated, that we actually got to spend a good amount of time with him in like the movie, because as you mentioned, we get like pieces of John, and like reasonings as to why he is the way he is, and the flashbacks, but it would really be in assistance of supporting someone else's narrative, kind of, and or like why they're in their game, but not actually about John himself. So getting him at the forefront, and we started with him and ended with him. It was just good to kind of like have that, especially because he's the only, like, besides like his apprentices, like he's the main like person that people associate with the series is Kramer, and of course Billy the puppet. But he's like the main one that we associate with when we think of like the Saw movies, and we never got anything that actually focused on him in this type of way. Like the story may have kind of revolved around him a bit. Like I think maybe the closest we got to where it revolving around him was maybe like 2 and 3, just because he was yeah, and like Saw 2, we had the whole thing with like Matthews, and we saw him like there, and then in Saw 3, he's basically on his deathbed at that point, and he's spending most of his time with Amanda Lynn, which was barely anything, and then after that point, he was dead. So we got like flashbacks after flashback, so it was just good to get like a whole like concise story with him at the forefront, and they really added like they really made us feel empathetic for him, which you know we've been talking about these movies for this is the 10th movie, so we've been talking about these movies for 10 weeks now, and we've all like said like John isn't really like the best person to kind of say like who is deserving of like to be alive or death and that type of thing. But in this instance, like I was riding with John the whole way. Like I was on his side the entire time for this movie, because what the people were doing is just like inexcusable acts. And what's even crazier is, we get that scene, as I mentioned earlier, where he's at the park, he's designing like the reverse bear trap, and then he rips the page out, and he rips the page out and tosses it away, and then tries to go do like that nice gesture for Gabriella, getting her the bottle of tequila. Like if he was actually like cured at that point, he wouldn't have even, well, at least we're supposed to believe that he wouldn't have even gone through with anything past this movie. So the rest of the series probably wouldn't have happened if he actually got his cure and was good. And maybe if maybe, like, let's say that we did go through and he just wasn't like the procedure itself just didn't work. Like I feel like he maybe still wouldn't have done it, because he um people were genuinely trying to help him. It wasn't like a scam, but because it turned out to be a whole scam, and he paid money for it, and he found out all these other people are in it, like he just, at that point, that probably just broke him. He was like, well, if this is all humanity has to offer me and these other people who are in my same situation, then they have to pay.
Well, with that, Tuan, can you give the people the behind the scenes info and facts?
Saw X had a budget of 13 million, and It currently sits at a box office of 65.2 million and counting at the time of this recording, as the movie is still in theaters. Some interesting facts though. On September 9th, 2023, Lionsgate announced the return of the Saw Blood Drive, a promotional event that allowed audience members to donate blood to the American Red Cross in exchange for free tickets for the opening weekend of Saw X. The film was set to be released on October 27th, 2023, before Lionsgate announced at the San Diego Comic Con that it would be moved up to its current date. Saw X takes place chronologically between the first and second films. The filmmakers explained that they wanted to return to what fans loved the most, the earlier films. Knowles and Gruder shared that Saw X did so well at the first test screening, the producers were convinced the two had rigged the screenings by bringing in a friendly audience. While they did not, producers set up a second test screening and didn't tell them the location until right before it was set to start. Once again, it received the same acclaim from the audiences. Some critics' reactions: the film currently sits at 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is the only positive Saw movie that is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. The Hollywood Reporter praised Bell for his performance, saying none of this would have worked nearly as well without Bell, whose raspy voice and menacing gravitas are so riveting that he makes just Jigsaw's oft-repeated declaration, "I'd like to play a game," scary as hell. The San Francisco Chronicle called the film a well-told tale, as well as praised his character development and plot twists. Empire gave the film a score of 2 out of 5, positively commenting on the blood and gore, calling it all present and correct.
Wow. For the last time, do we cash or pass Saw X? Maria?
Um, I'll cash. As I feel like as lacking as the traps were, um, I don't know. I feel like the plot twist here just really worked this time. I mean, I know that's basically what the movies are known for is plot twist after plot twist, but I feel like this was the first time I was like actually surprised. And then I was surprised again, and then again and again. It's just an endless cycle of plot twists. But I mean, I liked it, but I liked the movie. I liked Amanda. I liked John in the movie too. Um, yeah, I mean, I did wish I did wish that the traps were a bit more gorier, to be honest, especially for, you know, Cecilia. I don't know. I just wish, because I don't know, she deserved a lot more. I don't know. I'm just saying, she
You're
deserved a
right.
lot more. Like, yeah, like there's a bunch of other people out there that I'm pretty sure she had also used to like keep up her scams. Like this is her scam, like it wasn't just Mateo, Gabriela, and Valentina who went around the world with her. I'm assuming, to do these scams. Like I'm pretty sure like she was doing this like country to country, you know what I mean? So it's like I feel like out of everybody, she deserved something, She deserved a different way to show that she really wanted to live, I guess. But either way, I cash though. I did like Cecilia as being like the antagonist. Like that lady was crazy, fucking crazy. Um, but yeah.
Tuan, what about you? Do you cash or pass Saw X, The Game of Fear?
I cash Saw X. I really enjoyed this movie. It definitely is a return to form. You could definitely tell while watching it that people who were involved in some of the earlier ones were involved in this one, as opposed to like Jigsaw and Spiral. It immediately like gave me that feeling of watching like an older Saw movie. Just it is just new for us now, and I like that they were able to slot this in to a place in the timeline where it seems feasible for that something that this could happen, and you don't have to have the other movie's knowledge in order to see it. um I think that's a really good like thing you can do with like prequels and stuff like this, especially bringing back older characters for like new people who may not have ever seen the other ones. So this is like a good point, and I would like to see where they kind of go from here, if they are gonna go from here, like if they might do another prequel or whatnot. If it just sticks to this, that's also fine. I'm just glad that we got a return and then we got to see John Kramer actually lead a Saw movie. So this gets a cash, and I will actually be buying this on DVD.
And for me, it's also a cash. Like again, this, like we've all said, when it comes to Amanda, this movie like fully fleshed her out, and they fleshed out John more, and we saw the relationship more. The stakes are high, and it wasn't boring. Like we all knew that going in, John wasn't going to get the miracle cure because we saw him die and Saw 3. So we all knew where this was going. But it was still so suspenseful and still had so many twists and turns, and it was still just so good. And for me, like Tuan said, we've been talking about these movies for 10 weeks straight. This is the first one I've actually really enjoyed since, I want to say, Saw 3. Especially given the last two that we just came off of, Jigsaw and Spiral. Like, this is a cash. Like, I can see myself watching this again.
Yeah,
Will I ever watch Jigsaw or Spiral again? Probably not. Will I watch this again? Hell yes. Hell yes, I will. This was a good movie, and that's a three-way cash. We were ending the Saw retrospective with a three-way cash. We've come to the end, 10 weeks, and damn, it's 10 weeks. This felt shorter than the fucking Insidious franchise. But we have done it. But join us next week as we gather once again to rank all 10 movies from the worst to our best. Thanks you guys for listening. Good night.